Welcome everyone. Welcome to Sage Slow Down Saturdays. If you're tuning in from my personal IGTV, welcome to Dr. Yael Green. It's Saturday. All right. So, thanks for being here, you guys. Thanks for tuning in, taking this time, however long you're able to be here, to really be present for yourself and for others in our collective. I know it's a time where we're really adjusting, and so many parts of ourselves are adjusting, and we're coming together in so many different ways. So I wanted to take this Saturday to really delve in a little bit more to attuning and then being able to regulate during this time of transition. And I want to say, generally we're, I think, in times of transition and movement and integration, especially now, which is just so different than many of us have ever experienced, because there's not many of us who have gone through a collective shift in trauma like this. There have been certain pockets, but this is a complete planetary global trauma that we're working through. And so as we start to feel into that, we're really going to be brought back to the self. And how do we sense, how do we feel, how do we engage with the cycle of our nervous system, with the cycle of feelings, sensations, images within ourselves, let alone what the collective is coming into our space with. So that's what we'll be doing. We'll be doing some questions. We'll be going into a little bit of physiology, because that's part of my passion, and I think it's imperative and essential, really, for all of us to know more about this vehicle and this body that we have here, because this is what we have to move through the world. This is what we have to be able to understand what's coming into us and to be able to make sense of things. This is sort of it's basically an experiencer and a meaning maker. So we'll do a little bit of that. Any questions on that? And then we'll go into a body-oriented attunement and regulation with sound. And I'm going to tell you why sound is important and why I don't call this a sound bath. Because I think that's sort of the trend nowadays. So let me do a little bit of introduction of who I am, if you don't know who I am. My name is Dr. Yael Green, and I am a somatic and movement guide teacher. I also have helped start Sage Crystals, and I work with people to attune their body senses and work with their somatic responses. So I work creating safety and regulation. I use that with bowls. I do that with energy. So if that's something that's of interest to you, head on over to my website, to my IG page. You can get some more information about that. And there's some great videos I've uploaded on YouTube. We'll keep adding to those as time goes on. And if you're interested in getting deeper into it, you can go ahead and schedule a discovery session with me on my website as well. We're also going to be talking today about fragmentation a little bit. So we'll dive into that in a second. And just so you know, I'm looking down because I've written some notes because, again, also, there's a lot of information I want to get out to. So I want to make sure that I've brought it to your attention. Okay. Any questions before we start? All right, so I talked about in the description about us navigating new landscapes. I think the unknown is a place where we're all experiencing. It's really a place that we experienced before the unknown, but we didn't realize it. We thought there were things in place to really keep us safe. And unfortunately, those are falling away. And so we're realizing that there is this unknown, And how does that feel in our body? Does that feel safe? What's our relationship with the unknown? This is our new landscape. How are we able to gain capacity to hold these spaces? And how is our resilience? How are we able to move in and out of these spaces when we become activated? Are we able to complete that cycle, or do we start to lose some of our sense of ourself, some of our sense of time, some of the feelings in our body? Do we become numb? Do we feel like we're actually in a different space than we are now? So how do we become fragmented? Just want to point out also, if you're hearing noise in the background, it's interesting because that's the collective. We have neighbors right now that their kids have been home for 2 months and their kids are activated. And as parents, they don't know how to deal with it. How do we support and keep each other safe? Behavior starts to come into play. So we hear that child yelling 6, 8, 10 hours a day because they're not sure how to self-soothe. The parent doesn't know how to mirror them and start to feel safe. And that's what we do as a collective. So just starting to understand that. A little bit about physiology, because I love physiology and movement and understanding this body. My background also is as a doctor of physical therapy. So I want to just set the stage, set a context. So before we do that, let's just take a breath together. And I know that sometimes quiet in that space between the breaths can bring up sensations, can bring up images, can bring up stories and narratives, which is all okay. That's sort of part of the cycle, okay? But those are the pieces that we're really able to fall into and then complete. Okay, those are our integrated parts of things. So when we think of this, I want to give you the two extremes. Overwhelm. How does overwhelm feel in your body? When you've gone too far, too fast, it's been too much. Do you feel numb? Do you start to feel anxious? Are there images that come into your minds? What pieces start to pop up when you begin to feel that overwhelm? And the same thing on the opposite side. What about that underwhelm when we start to come into a place of not feeling, of moving out of our body, of underfeeling, of numbness, of just moving away from the situation? So those are our extremes. But in there is a wave, right? When we think about the surf and the water and how that wave completes a cycle, we move up, we become engaged and activated, we're moving through, we're seeing things, we're experiencing things, we're having conversations, we have our behaviors, we reach that place, and then we start to calm down again. And that's that complete cycle. Remember, the wave comes up, it peaks, falls over, and then it ends again. And that's our nervous system cycle. There's many times, especially when we experience what's going on in the world right now, as too much. And that starts to bring that wave too high or too low. And that's that space that we're trying to attune. We're trying to create that capacity to stay within that wave. Are there any questions about that? I know this may be a new concept to some, maybe something that people are completely familiar with. It's known as the window of tolerance, which I think helps to give it that name. Because it allows for what's present, and we have our experience and we feel that in our bodies. and then we're able to move to the next thing. But those times when we go too high or too low, things start to break apart and they fragment. And so it's not that complete whole that moves us through the system. And that's where things become frozen or stuck within our body, within our narratives, within our behaviors. Right? Behaviors start to come from there, like a kid yelling or obsessive compulsive behaviors, things like that, the images that we start to see. So those start to live in our system and get activated at different times, which is just so interesting when we think how beautiful this system works and in order to keep us moving in this lifetime and to keep us still surviving and living, right? But obviously we don't just want to survive. We want to actually live and be engaged in every moment. And that means we feel. That means we get activated. That means we come to this point and then we start to calm down. That means our system understands that movement. When the beauty also bringing the sound bowls in, and sound is that sound has that wave. Sound is a wave in itself. The actual form of sound mimics that wave and starts to allow our body to entrain into that. Yeah. So I want you to take a moment to just imagine a wave. You feel like closing your eyes. Close your eyes. If it feels safer for you to open them, please feel free to do that. And this is only if it feels okay to you. And I want you to just imagine if you've been in the water ever, whether it's been in a bathtub or a shower or a lake or the ocean. I want you to imagine the feeling of the water surrounding you or coming down on you or moving you. If that feels okay to you. And take a moment to sense in your body what you feel, whether it's an emotion, whether it brings you joy, whether it brings up fear. Remember, that's all just energies. Allowing that to be as much as you can tolerate and coming back out if you can't. If there's any emotions that come up, images, and I want you to just feel that gentle rocking that water has. Coming over your body. What it does to your breath. The sounds that you might hear around you. How your hands might feel. What that brings up in your mind. And if there's any point that starts to become uncomfortable about that, allow yourself to come back into the present moment, opening up the eyes, orienting, looking around, building capacity to somatically sense what's present, whether that's an image, a story. And when you're ready, coming back into the wave, into the water. Notice if your breath is stuck anywhere. And this is your journey. These are just suggestions to guide you. Knowing that you know where you need to be and where you need to go. Your body is so beautifully intelligent. Just allowing yourself to track this space that you're in the water. Allowing what may feel tenuous and getting curious about that. Getting curious about where it wants to move to. Getting curious about how it wants to move. And if there is anything that it wants to say. Control of how much you feel, of how deeply you want to go, and for how long. We are just your guides. With suggestions. Knowing that whatever may come up that deep presence with you, seeing you, supporting your alignment, and if you'd like to follow me deeper down in the waters. Let's allow the body to get lighter and more fluid. Starts to melt into the depth of color, of temperatures that the deeper waters inhabit. through that dimensional understanding of what our essence is. Who we are when we remove all those layers. As we slowly start to unravel and exhale out that which we no longer need in these depths of waters. Feeling the comfort that difference between what's at the surface and what begins to appear as we go deeper in. How do you start to experience the self? Is there a distinction between you and what's surrounding you? What do you know is the felt sense in this moment? And as always, you have choice. You can stay in this moment right now where you are. You can continue to go deeper in. You can start to make your way back up as you know what is your path in this moment. It doesn't mean that this decision can't be shifted. As you start to move in one way or the other, I'd like you to see how that feels. How that movement of energy resonates with you. Looking to always feel good. There may be a place that feels okay or not bad. Feeling your way into the next moment. water shifted to a different landscape for you. How are you adjusting to that new landscape? Are you able to take a moment to just take it in, to observe? See how it feels on whatever essence you're at this moment. Because this is your new landscape. This is your unknown. This is that moment that you've been asking about. That you've been wondering what it looks like, what it feels like, how you feel entering into it. How do you feel? How do you respond to it? This is you. This is the new you. The you that you thought you were. The parts of you that you may have left behind, fragmented. Are becoming whole in this moment. This is all of you. In the unknown. If you feel comfortable, I'd like you to approach it with this you. And every step you take starts to build upon that unknown. Every moment you place that foot down onto this new ground, begin to remember that you've been here before, that you've been holding these memories and these experiences. That it may not be as unknown as you think. Because all the multidimensional selves that you have been, that you came into this being with, are present for you right now. Notice what images or emotions or sensations you start to arise. As that light starts to shift, we start to make our way slowly back through these worlds and through these realms, into present time reality, with all the care and the support and the love and the pace that you may not have received the first time you entered this reality. With all that you wish you had had when you entered here. Asking yourself what that is, what that looks like, what that needs to be for you to re-enter with this new self, safely, supported, seen, and understood for who you are. Taking your own time with this. And you're allowed to stay there as long as you need, as long as you'd like. To make that journey back. As these sound waves will carry you through, will hold you on that wave and support you for as long as you need. that support and that love and that understanding as we allow that new feeling and that remembrance to be reintegrated into the grid work, into the fabric of our systems, to the multidimensional fabric of that space around us. Continue that link, that thread through the dimensions, so that we may call upon that energy whenever we perceive a distance. And as we allow those workings to occur, not having to do anything to keep them in place, if you're ready, we bring ourselves back into this moment. Easily and comfortably. Allowing the eyes to open when you're ready. Starting to use slowly the neck muscles and the features of the eyes to look around. To physically see what's in this space. Really using the capacity slowly as you can, turning the head, and as you start to get reacquainted with this space that you're in, allowing the hand to feel the structure of the body, possibly allowing one to move to the back of the neck and on the heart if that's comfortable, or the front of the head, or down to the hips, knees or feet. Sensing the space of the ears and the jaw, textures of the fingertips and the hands, possibly even moving them in the space around. And taking this next moment to start to integrate these new energy fields and these new grid works into ourselves. And as you're coming back online, if you've got some water, feel free to bring that into the system to clear whatever is coming up. And we'll take the next few minutes. If you'd like to jump off, feel free to do that. If you'd like to stay, I'm happy to take any questions, any comments, anything like that.
Lately, I've noticed we're all going through a different transition at a high magnitude, and we're clashing with one another, especially those not aware of it. Any advice on how to unchannel or unchain it?
Well, I appreciate that you're noticing it. And I think that's the first piece, is that you're noticing where you are in relation to what's around you. So, again, how do we stay within our window of tolerance? So it sounds like as we sort of, you would call it clash with the others around us, I might suggest seeing if it feels okay to you, to see where you are in that window of tolerance when it feels like there's a clash. Is it comfortable for you? Is it just something you're noticing? Does it bring you into an overwhelmed state? And if so, where do you start to fragment out? And what tools do you have to bring yourself back into that completion cycle? Because doing this work doesn't mean that we're changing everything and everything's gonna be perfect, whatever that means. We're allowing ourselves to have more capacity to be resilient when these things come into our field, so that we feel them, we experience them, but we don't let them affect us so much that it breaks us apart. We're able to move through it and come back down to calm, because we are here to experience. And in that changes us. And when we change our vibrational field and capacity and experience, that changes how we experience and see and hear everything else around us. I hope that answers the question.
Where will these videos be available?
I believe they will be available on
IGTV and YouTube.
IGTV and YouTube. Good question.
We've got another one. When you've prepared for change for a long time and now you're ready, is there a way to facilitate this happening sooner? Can I influence the speed through meditation?
Good question. Can I make it happen sooner? Well, I think you've made it happen. It's happening right now. We really have such a beautiful nervous system and physicalness. It really does, and if you're interested in this, I'll probably do a video on it. We're going to go into polyvagal theory, which is just brilliant, but our nervous system allows breaking and moving forward. So yes, energy has speed, all of this waves have speed. So have we, from this place, increased our vibrational speed? Absolutely. We've all come in a collective right here working with this sound waves, and we have increased our vibrational speed. There are times that we need to down regulate, and there are times that we need to up regulate. So in your preparing for change, you have been changing. the preparation is the change itself. So I would say continue being in the present moment, because that is where everything is occurring. And that present moment has speed as quick as you could imagine and has no speed at all, because it is every moment in that point, if that makes any sense.
Vasca Michelle says, for me, it's all about remembering past lives, past emotions, past traditions that are so relevant to what is happening now with our evolution as a whole. Can you talk a bit about remembering?
Yeah. I mean, remembering, re-engaging. I know that we've all had so many different layers of lifetimes possibly on this planet, and some of us have had no lifetimes on this planet. So this is such a beautiful time, and Michelle, I know that you are going through that space, and it's such a, the gifts that you're bringing in are so beautiful and so necessary right now, that I think the remembering process is this, as we feel these blossoms start to pop into our knowing, and really recalling back to who we were when we were energetic beings before deciding to become experiencers on this planet. And the beauty of this remembrance and in this time is that link becomes so quick, and that link becomes so embodied that we are that energetic being. And without moving into such a personal piece on this, is that all of these things that are coming into the ancient techniques, all of them are links back to that being that we came from. And yeah, and I almost get speechless, because that place is such a beautiful place, that place of just unimaginable love is where we've come from. And so every time you reconnect and bring out those traditions, and however you express them, you are giving that ability to everyone around you to reconnect themselves to that place of remembrance of who they were, of who we are. So yeah, I hope that there is not any questioning about it, and you just dive deeply and head into those waters without any worry or fear, because we're all here supporting you to do that work. So I want to thank you for being open to that piece of it.
Julie Blanchard wanted to add on about remembering past traumas.
Got it.
A big trauma came up for her today associated with water at a lake, along with beautiful experiences of water at beaches that she loves and goes into her mind too for relaxation.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. I mean, water is such a big piece of this remembrance, because honestly, all of our pieces come from water and our remembrance. So if water can be one, obviously I know many people have had traumas in water, but I appreciate that you are still able to hold those pieces. I mean, it's such a complex thing to hold the trauma and to hold the experience, and then also to be able to be in it and allow yourself some healing for it. So thank you.
Any thoughts on Andaras? Do you find them useful, or do you not buy into them?
I have no idea what an Andara is. I'm happy to. I don't know what it is.
We have another question we can come back to.
I can look it up on.
Okay, we'll come back
it's a
to
crystal. That would be a Jillian question.
My nervous system has been bracing for danger for so many years now that I cannot relax it to the point that I feel safe at any moment. How do I remind myself that I'm no longer in need of so much fear?
That is a great question, and it's complex. And it's the work of trauma. It's not a simple answer, and I think that there's so much out there that says just do breath work, just do this, but working with trauma is complex, and working with feeling safe and being able to complete that cycle and having a safe attachment, I believe takes time, and I believe takes support. So I think being here right now and the collective of people supporting that is one great thing, and I'd be happy to go more into it. That is the work that I do with people. So feel free to book a discovery session with me, or if you want to DM me or email me, I'd be happy to go into more with that. But at least if there's something that resonates with your system, if these sound bowls resonated, use them as one place to go in order to have a bit of safety. But know that fear and that what came up was what got you here right now. So that was important.
So I think we have time for one more question.
And you want to answer the Andara question?
No, I'll do that another thing. But how much are discovery sessions?
Those are free. Thanks.
You can book a free discovery session on dryaelgreen.com. So our last question is, it's been 6 years since my husband passed, and I am a young widow. I took his loss very hard. How do I keep healing and moving forward?
That's also a great question, and thank you for being vulnerable enough to say that. And working with loss is a heart piece, and I want to say it's not something to take lightly. I think that's a big discussion. I'd be happy to sort of work through some of that with you if that's of interest. It is a trauma, and how do we reintegrate and connect and feel supported again in that? And it's a part of this experience that we bring in that gives us greater capacity. But I really want to say that I honor your heart, and I honor the witness, the sorrow and the grief and everything that's coming through during this time for that. So, okay. Thank you guys for being here and for allowing this to happen and for just giving a platform for it, because without you guys, it wouldn't be happening. So I'm really so grateful for you being here and for being present and giving of your energy in this time. I know that we don't have a lot of energy necessarily in this time, and so thank you for being here. And I'd be really happy to connect with any and all of you through whichever means feel comfortable to you to contact me, and just to keep continuing this discussion, because I think the more we have it, the more we can support each other in it. So thank you guys, and I will see you soon. Take care.